Hi there, I'm Justin Pritchard, and this is the new Honda Civic Type R. It's one of the hottest and most highly anticipated cars to launch this year, and I want to get right into what this little beast is and what it's not in terms of how it drives. And of course, that means getting behind the wheel. Twist my arm.
Visually, there's little mistaking it as anything less than a hardcore, high-performance weapon. Look at the wing, splitters, scoops, and vents, the giant Brembo brakes, spoiler, and fender-widening trim for a wider track. It's even got 3 exhaust pipes. Apparently, designers were told to break up anything more than a square foot of flat metal with a scoop or vent. To me, it looks a little overdone and obnoxious. That's going to help Honda sell tons. So is this VTEC Turbo, 2 words that combined get import performance enthusiasts drooling away on overtime. I'm one of them. This is a 2-liter turbo VTEC engine with 306 horsepower. The 6-speed stick drives the front wheels. 0 to 100 clicks arrives in just under 5 seconds en route to a quarter-mile pass in the mid to high 13-second range. That's about as quick as a Nissan 370Z and nearly as quick as, say, a Mustang GT. Here's what you need to know if you're a potential buyer and not a smack-talking internet fanboy. At its core, despite all this added performance and drama, this is very much still a Honda Civic. They've managed to dial up the thrill factor, keep core Civic attributes intact, and virtually nuke the compromise common when you turn a commuter car into something like this. And given the look, you might expect maybe a rough, bouncy track car ride, a noisy engine with a lousy idle, and a clutch and shifter you'll struggle with. Tracky brakes that squeak and squeal until they're hot.
Nope, none of that. Start the engine. That's barely louder than a regular Honda Civic. The clutch and shifter, they're both a little more labor intensive than in a regular commuter car, but only a little bit. The clutch feels positive and grabby, but it won't tire you out in traffic. The shifter is not one finger easy. It's nice and solid, firm sort of performance feel here. Maybe not Honda's smoothest or lightest shifter, but authentically sporty without giving you a workout. The steering is nice and light too. Really, this is a totally daily drivable car. In fact, I'll even say that when you have the adjustable shocks here set into their comfort mode, this Type R is a more comfortable thing to drive on rougher roads than the mainstream Honda Civic Touring Coupe that we drove last month, and that's remarkable.
A few more examples of how everyday friendly a beast this is. These gorgeous race car seats have thigh-high bolsters to keep you fixed, and if you're a gentleman, you've typically got to be very careful getting into a seat like this to avoid smashing your precious cargo on those bolsters as you get in. But they've left an open space back here so your fellas can get seated without painful incident. Or the cabin. All mandatory boy racer implements are here. Red trim, carbon fiber looking accents, badging, and even a serialized number plate and aluminum shift knob. But behind all the flair, look at the storage and the wireless recharging pad. There are even pass-throughs for your USB cables to reduce cord clutter. There's room in back for 2 average-sized adults and a big trunk behind that. It screams race car, but it's only slightly more difficult to live with than a regular Civic. But is it all scoops and spoilers and no bite? Nope, you'd expect a 300 horsepower track-tuned Civic to be an awful lot of fun, and you'd be right. Main reasons why? Well, the engine for one. It revs to 7,000 RPM, the turbocharger stays on strong until redline, and it's a torque monster that shoves you into your seat with just a touch on the throttle, building power as the revs climb. The exhaust sound is fine, it's just a sound, but overall the engine is more entertaining than I thought, thanks to the rare combination of lots of revs and lots of torque. And as it goes with many a high-performance car, the big brakes feel a bit numb and imprecise until you work them really hard, where they feel confidence-inspiring and very powerful. And the handling? Oh boy. Tip the drive toggle switch into the most aggressive plus R mode and it feels like the dampers and steering rack are both replaced by concrete. The ride goes race car. The steering gets very, very heavy, and all with a very quick steering ratio. Here you direct the Type R with tiny little but very heavy and deliberate inputs, which reminds me of some of my favorite much pricier performance cars like the 911 GT3 or Cadillac ATS-V. Push it and what you feel beneath you is pure, playful, confident fun. I'm not sure I've ever driven a front-wheel drive car that was this hilariously frisky, or even an all-wheel drive car, at least on this side of a much higher price tag for that matter. And don't worry, the Type R is front-wheel drive, but on dry, warm pavement you don't really need all-wheel drive anyways. It's that good. Torque steer? Forget about it. Just be a touch smooth on the throttle on corner exit, and the front tires bite in and fling you along, no drama. This thing has the moves. It turns and squirms and slips and slides and responds the way a proper performance car should. And with a performance driving course or two under your belt, you'll leave those smack-talking guy-off-the-street STI drivers in your rear view all day long. On that note, if you get one of these, get it to a professional track driving course right now. Remember, in a car like this, driver's skill level and not upgrades or having 2- or 4-wheel drive makes all the difference. Learn to capitalize on what this thing can do, and the grin on your face will be visible from orbit. And when you're done, flick it back into comfort mode and take it to work, church, or the grocery store. Gripes, keeping context in mind, well, my biggest one is this ridiculous wing, and only because it makes the trunk feel like it weighs 406 pounds when you open it. I'll cut to the chase now. End of the day, if you're considering the Type R, you should probably go for it. It's not as hardcore and compromised as it looks, but it is just as entertaining. If you need all-wheel drive, maybe for a winter-ready performance thrill ride, then the STI, Golf R, and if you can find one, Focus RS. Would love for you to check them out too. Thanks for watching.